So I'm moving to Jeff now. I mean, you've heard Jay's points. I mean, you've heard everyone's points about what the risks are. And then you've heard Jay's specific point about strengthening the off-takers. How at ATI do you sort of see, strengthening the off-take risk and sort of categorizing and managing that and putting out some kind of product to the market? Just let us know the types of work that you're doing to address infrastructure and regional infrastructure, de-risking those projects in the continent.
Thank you. Well, maybe I'll first take 1 minute of your life to explain briefly what we are doing.
The phone might ring. You heard what happened with Jay.
Sorry?
The phone might ring.
So we are multilateral. We owned mainly by 10 African countries, African Development Bank, PTA Bank, or other shareholders. Our mission is to attract investments and to facilitate trade related to our member countries by de-risking, by taking off political risk, credit risk on governments, sovereigns and sub-sovereigns, terrorism, sabotage, embargo, currency risk, and also the pure commercial risk. We quite heavily involved in power projects, and first of all, our clients very often also want pure political risk insurance, expropriation, nationalization, war, civil war, terrorism, etc. But the main concern is off-take risk. So, and all the risks that have been mentioned in this distinguished panel, they all apply, and we're all worried about as much as you. And but the fortunate thing is that we are coming at the tail end. So we come in when you come to financial close, when all the risks have been assessed, have been modeled, environmental, social impact is also a key thing. We just check whether everything has been done and whether the risk in the end is acceptable, and then we add to that our insurance. The advantage of ATI is that we have a preferred creditor status. It means that if we have to take a risk on an off-taker that is not extremely strong, then we can take a risk knowing that if we have a claim or potential claim, we can go to the government and we can reclaim the government the loss that we have suffered. So in principle, we are replacing sovereign guarantees, and that's the obsession of most of the private banks. They want an NOF guarantee, and governments are more and more reluctant to give that, even to give letters of comfort. So in principle, we are ideally positioned really to make projects bankable that otherwise would have problems.
Jeff, do you think that there's scope for you, with the expertise and the knowledge that you have, to perhaps get involved in the transaction earlier on? I mean, we've seen a lot of examples where developers have come to the market, they've only spoken to the debt providers. By the time 2 years down the line, they can't meet the requirements of the equity providers, and everyone's saying, well, let's maybe get around the table much earlier on.
I think typically we have two key moments. One is the very beginning of the project, when the IPP comes to us and says, is this something that is insurable? And then we really hook horns, say, you have to know this is what quote the off-taker. The PPA is very weak, they have extremely long delays in payments, so you have regulatory risk, etc. So make sure that this is covered well. If you have a PPA and you know that local law will be applicable, that the arbitration will be in the country itself, you know that it will be very, very difficult to make it bankable. And we are not really helpful in that because we can insure the PPA, but PPA is not really strong. So even if the PPA is respected, it's still not a good risk.
Right. Thank you.
And sorry, and then the second phase is almost at financial close, when we really just do the checking of what the others have done.
Super.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.